Minutes to the gentleman from California, Mr. Tom McClintock.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I've suggested from time to time that the only chairman's portraits that we should have in this budget committee room are those chairmen who actually balance the budget, a group that I hope someday you will join. And I've also suggested that a placard should be displayed over the dais with these 4 words: "It's the spending stupid." The budget isn't about the deficit. The budget is about spending. The deficit is driven by spending. Once we've spent $1, the only question is whether it's paid from current taxes, from borrowing, that's the deficit, or from inflation. So the overarching question is, how does this budget treat total spending? And the answer is that the spending cuts are substantial, and on that basis alone, I believe this budget resolution deserves our support. I do share the Democrats' newfound concern for the debt, but what they've never seemed to grasp is that debt and taxes and inflation are all driven by spending that they can never seem to get enough of, unless we're talking about spending to protect our communities from violent criminals or protect our country from international threats. Mr. Chairman, as I've expressed to you throughout our discussions, I'm deeply disappointed that this resolution doesn't go much farther to reduce mandatory spending. Let me give you just one example. This resolution sets the stage to extend all of the TCJA, including those aspects of it that have nothing to do with growth and nothing to do with taxes. I'm speaking of $350 billion in refundable tax credits paid to people who pay no taxes. That's not tax policy, it's welfare policy. And if we're going to do it, we should do so honestly through welfare programs where we can at least insist on a strong work requirement. But much of my disappointment in this resolution is compensated by the extraordinary work being done by Elon Musk and his team at Doge. I am confident they are setting the stage for hundreds of billions of dollars of cost savings that are not reflected in this budget resolution, but that are real and imminent. I also share the Democrats' concern that the growth rate that this resolution relies upon is far above the economic consensus. That has the potential of costing us credibility in bond markets, and that's a valid concern. But what the consensus fails to recognize is what's going on all around us with administration initiatives to roll back the crushing regulatory burdens imposed by the previous failed administration. It's not unreasonable to assume that these policies will have the same positive economic influence that they had during the first Trump administration, in which case the resolution's growth projection is, if anything, slightly conservative. The only other time in our history that we've carried so much debt to GDP was at the end of World War II, when we had exhausted all of our resources. In fiscal year 1946, Harry Truman abolished the excess profits tax. He slashed federal income tax rates. He cut federal spending from $85 billion a year to $30 billion a year. He fired 10 million federal employees. It was called war demobilization. The Keynesians at the time predicted 25% unemployment and a second Great Depression. Instead, we got the post-war economic boom. I think this budget, plus the many other actions by this administration outside of this budget, will produce the new golden American age that President Trump has initiated. Benjamin Franklin told the delegates of the Constitutional Convention that when you bring together a group of people to benefit from their collective wisdom, you are also inevitably going to get their collective folly. And from that, you can't expect a perfect plan. But despite all of his misgivings about certain parts of that document, he marveled at how good in total it was. He said that he'd doubt a little of his own infallibility and put his reservations at bay. And I feel the same way as I endorse this budget resolution this morning. The American people didn't save our country on election night last November. They gave us the tools to save our country. It's still up to us to use them. This is a powerful tool that we unlock today, and I'm confident it will begin to arrest the spending that is hollowing out the earnings of our people and destroying the prosperity and productivity of our nation. I yield back.